Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B-Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Kung Fu Film Focus for this Thursday, Christmas Day, 2025. This is a special edition of Kung Fu Film Focus where we will be reviewing a Shaw Brothers Blu-Ray box set, and it's called Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1, an 11 film box set that has been put out by Shout Studios. And let me just say this. The Shaw Brothers remasters are quite a treasure, seeing that these films are going back into the late 50s on through the 60s and 70s in a library of over 1,000 films that they had remastered in the early 2000s by Celestial Pictures. Some of these films, when we are on the side of martial arts, what we're talking about are wuxia, swordplay classics, knight chivalry films, fantasy, martial knight films, also kung fu films. And then on, as we went through the genre, we would go into the ensemble pieces that featured stars like Tai Lung, David Chang, Chen Kwa Tai, Alexander Fuxing, Chi Kwa Chung, Gordon Liu, The Venoms. So as we talk about this particular box set, because it is Volume 1, I just wanted to be able to talk about this so those who are looking for martial art films to go back into the history, this is a great place to start. Most of the films in this set are established from 1968 through 1969. So that's a healthy portion of history from Shaw Studios. Welcome, everybody. I hope that you've had a great Christmas day. I decided to do something because I found myself with some time to be able to maybe just sit down, and instead of just watching the films myself, which I'll do anyway, I thought I would just come up and talk about it. I won't keep you long. Please smash the like button as you come into the building as we talk a little Kung Fu this evening. You see, for those of us who are enthusiasts about the genre, sometimes everyone doesn't have the wherewithal about how to obtain some of this fare. Some of us don't know and don't have the updated information as when something may get released or made available. And that's why a live stream such as this serves a great purpose. Because as we get through Kung Fu films, it's important to take note of the fact that though you might know something or be aware and be up on, there may be people internationally that didn't have access, didn't have this similar access. So this will, in some way, shape, form, and fashion, assist some of our enthusiasts. We're multi-streaming across my Kung Fu channel as well as my Rumble channel. So for those of you who may not have signed up for Rumble, go over there, follow the link in the chat, and do yourself a service and join us over at the Rumble. So hold on one second, family. I'm having one of these error messages on the frames. So let me go in here and see if I can change this up a little bit so that we can get a better video. Let's see here. Is that too high? Bit rate. Maybe we drop it down a little bit. See if that'll help it out a little bit. Let's see here. Okay. Keyframe. One second here, family. Trying to make an adjustment in my settings here because I'm getting a reading about outputs. Straight. Trying to see how I can make this adjustment. They always do this to me, man. I be trying to do these streams, and it's only when I go on this OBS as of late. Drop this down a little bit more. Am I coming across okay to you guys that's out there listening in the chat? You can let me know. Universal, I appreciate you being out there at all, brother. Thank you so much. See, it sounds good. Okay. I noticed it was choppy a moment ago. I made a couple of adjustments, and then now it's like it's not as choppy. This is because I'm dual streaming. That's what it is. Laptop is kind of acting up. Appreciate that, Columbia. Appreciate that. Jamal Davis over there in the Rumble, he says, Merry Christmas, Stormy. Peace and blessings, brother. Same to you and your family. He says, yes, you sound better now. It was chopping up, but now you're good. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. See, I don't know unless you guys give me the feedback. And I try to make some small adjustments here to the degree of where I can make adjustments. You know? So... but yeah, let me get ready to put things. Let me pop Stormy on up here in the screen there for you guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1 Blu-ray box set. Now, this is a box set that I picked up a while back. I have it in my food collection. And it's given me a lot of confidence in the films that I like. Some of them I hadn't seen until I obtained this box set. But the titles alone are pretty awesome. I think I picked up this set in 2023. But like I said, it's 11 titles on this box set. Now, the films on this set, they have, since this was the initial set that got released, they are currently on volume number 8. But I just thought about it today and I said, you know, I can go back and kind of review this for people who haven't had the chance to see certain titles. Included in these titles are The Assassin, The Thundering Sword, Golden Swallow, The Jade Rickshaw, The Bells of Death, The Sword of Swords, Killer Darts, The Invincible Fist, Dragon Swamp, The Flying Dagger, and The Golden Sword. 11 titles, like I said, that span from I said originally 68 through 69, but 67 through 69. And during that particular time with Shaw Brothers Studios, Jimmy Wong Yu was their leading guy. He became very famous after his role in The One-Armed Swordsman. And they sought him to lead in a lot of their sword play films. Now, it's interesting because he wasn't the best actor, and he definitely didn't have the best martial prowess. But there was something about Jimmy Wong Yu that reflected machismo, which is what the studio really wanted to go for during that time. In their films that were outside of the martial art films, they had actors who were character actors. They played in romantic roles. They played in spy dramas and thrillers. They played in comedies. They played in operatic films that were basically taking Chinese opera and putting it on film. And then they also had song and dance films, kind of mimicking what Hollywood was doing in the 60s, the mid to late 60s. So they found themselves doing these things and their own takes. Their spy films from the late 60s are pretty good, believe it or not. Cheesy set designs and special effects that were kind of similar to what you would see in films of James Bond or even James Coburn, when he was doing In Like Flint and Our Man Flint, you know. So those those films were kind of along what they were doing over in Hong Kong with Shaw Studios. Miss Davis is out there. Appreciate you stopping in. Merry Christmas to you as well, Miss Davis. Yeah, so, you know, when these swordplay films came along, I don't know if a lot of people understand or even know this about Hong Kong swordplay roles and things of that nature. A lot of times, the leading male actor was actually played by a female. Films initially thought males playing these parts and roles was kind of like not so macho. So women were made up to look like males. They used less makeup, sometimes even put fake hair on their faces and dressed them in male-like garb that would kind of give you the impression that it was a knight instead of a sword woman. But it didn't go over well with audiences, so they began to just start go ahead giving these roles to men. And Jimmy Wong was definitely a male. He was definitely one who set a precedent for machismo. And like I said before, that testosterone that he brought, because he was pretty much a a man by establishing himself. He got into a lot of fights off screen, on the Shaw Brothers lot, and in regular everyday life. Jimmy Wang Yu was a physical man. And so as he began his career and became more successful, he also became a little bit more selfish and arrogant, which would eventually lead to him and Shaw Brothers separating. So, but the first lead film on this box set is a film that stars Jimmy Wang Yu, and a film of his that elements of this portrayal on screen was repeated by him countless times going forward. And the film in question is The Assassin. Now, this film is based on a real Chinese folklore story. And The Assassin is a film where, as it was brought to audiences, people found it to be compelling. The story goes that Jimmy Wang Yu's main character he's playing is called Ni Ching. And he's a swordman who also is a Wei Empire patriot. And inside the Han Empire, he comes from the royal family. He's actually assumed the full power and wants to eliminate the royal officers. It's an action-packed film that was one of the first films that depicted such gruesome bloodletting. This is a movie where you see a lot of blood. And Jimmy Wang Yu's lead character in here, he's actually taking on they tried to hire him to eliminate some of the bad guys or the oppressors. And he took the job on. But what went along with that was the possibility of him losing his life. And that's the type of hero in Jimmy Wang Yu enjoyed playing. Those type of roles. And the third act of this film has him out there battling an army of guys. It's like one man against a full-fledged army. And he's out there to get done what he, set out to do. But I'm going to tell you something. This is not for the faint of heart. If you see that third act of this film and how things went down, you say, oh my goodness. But Jimmy was known to play those kind of roles. And he ended up recreating something similar. If you saw his film Blood of the Dragon, where he played a guy called the White Dragon in there, and he had a long silver spear. This film is quite similar to that. Quite similar. I think I'm hearing on my playback is getting a little choppy again. I don't know what to make of it, family, because I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. Adrian Viet, I see you out there. Merry Christmas. So yeah, The Assassin is included in this film set. I got it, Jamal. I picked up on it. I picked up on it. It's something that I don't know, man. Okay, now it's saying that my stream is healthy, so it should clear up. It should clear up in a few seconds, guys. Just give me a moment, okay? It should clear up. Yeah, because it's on a 10-second or 15-second delay. What I say live picks up to you guys 10 to 15 seconds later. I just had to drop the bit rate down a little bit more. Okay, we back, family. We back. It's saying that the stream is healthy now. Yeah, I had to drop the bit rates down. I dropped it down kind of low, so it should be okay now. Yeah. So we getting back to the box set, another film that's included in this box set, because we have quite a number of films. Like I said, it's 11 films in this box set. There's a film called The Thundering Sword. The Thundering Sword is another one of these movies that, Shaw Brothers from the late 60s, man, they came out with these movies, and a lot of times, as I said, they would have females playing the lead characters. And this one was one where we saw the legendary Chong Pei Pei, who played the fox in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the old lady. Chong Pei Pei starred in a number of swordplay films in the late 60s, early 70s with Shaw Brothers, and then later Golden Harvest Studios. But she was very popular. She was very popular, and she basically kind of helped keep the swordplay dramas along with her good acting. And because she had a background in dance, she could perform the choreography that was required in the action scenes particularly well. So this film was an action set piece starring her as a vengeful swordswoman, and she has some pretty decent co-stars in there with her. Chong Pei Pei was before Angela Mao and Polly Ling Fang Quan Shan. She was before those people, Judy Lee. But she was a different type. Her acting skills were much better, and she could carry a good, a good lead role very well. So there was a lot of people, looking for her services when she was acting. She co-starred in this film with Chang Yi and Lo Lei, whom she teamed up with quite a few times. And also Ku Feng. Ku Feng is another actor from Hong Kong who was a character actor, played a very good role in both heroic and villainous roles. So yeah, these guys were they were very good at what they did. So again, like I said, another great swordplay film. Now, another film that's included in this box set is The Golden Swallow, which was a follow-up sequel to King Hu's Come Drink With Me, where she's playing Golden Swallow, the name of the character in the Come Drink With Me. This was a sequel to that film by her name, and it also introduced Jimmy Wong Yu returning to star alongside of her as a jilted, lost lover swordsman who was hell-bent on vengeance. In the first film, Golden Swallow, Chang Pei Pei was an excellent fighter. She was beating up everybody, and she was a sleuth. And she was like, in that film, she was like a hired mercenary to bring down these bad guys. In this film, which is directed by Chang Che, which Chang Che never had much interest in the women in his films. He always really wanted the men to be front and center. I think a great deal of that had to do with him resenting what I explained earlier about the historical aspect of films where they had the females out front all the time. So he was trying to change that up. So he took Golden Swallow's character and kind of gave her a backseat role, not even a co-starring role. She's kind of in the backseat, and she's more vulnerable and less, I am woman, hear me roar in this film. So it's like he changed the dynamic of the character and made Jimmy Wong Yu the out front character. And once again, Jimmy Wong Yu is given material in this film as a wayward knight who goes out and he murders with reckless abandon, taking on huge numbers of adversaries. And it's done to a degree where we kind of see some things similar to The Assassin, which Chang Che directed as well. But there's some elements about his character in here that didn't fit the character from The Assassin. So in this film, he's kind of like, he's just kind of going through the motions, but it's just to make him the lead guy over, Chang Pei Pei. And Lo Lei is returning in this film as a co-star, where he and Jimmy Wong Yu's character kind of clash heads. They both have a love for Golden Swallow, so they're like, they're battling over her. My man Stephen L. the Mac in the building. What's happening with you, Stephen L? Gotta give you a wrench over here, bro. Gotta give Universal his wrench over here too. When you brothers come over here, I have to give you your wrenches. If Columbia's still out there, I'll wrench you up as well. Supporting the Kung Fu. Jamal Davis says, yeah, I'll probably watch one of the flicks tonight on Tubi. They have a lot of Kung Fu movies on Tubi. But do they have the Shaw Brothers? Because I think Shaw Brothers films are on Amazon Prime and there's somewhere else. Is it Paramount or Max? They're not all, you know, there's some you can find. You might even be able to find a couple of the titles on YouTube. And I do believe that Shaw Brothers has a Celestial channel on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you should try it out. Try to, you know, dig these films up. Yeah, Columbia's saying there's not many Shaw Brothers movies on Tubi. That's what I was saying. They don't have the license for them. But there are, if you got a Fire Stick and you put in Shaw Brothers titles, it'll tell you the first channel that you could find most of the Shaw's titles on. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Cause I don't look for them on the apps and stuff, because I have my own collection. Sorry, but not sorry. Stormy got his own Kung Fu collection. Huh? They should want to use my library. Yeah. Jamal says, I'll check. You're right. A lot of them are on Prime and YouTube. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You know, why you think they call me the sensei, man? I know about these Kung Fu joints, man. If I don't know nothing, you know what I mean? I could be about to pass out. They'd be like, ask him something before he goes. It'd be like, okay, what is the theorem of relativity and all of that? And I'd be like, I don't fucking know, man. Then they ask me something like, well, let's just ask him a throwaway question. In what year was Jackie Chan's #1 film made? I'll be like, oh, it was 1978, man. It was the Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, man. It's like, you know, oh, there he goes. He brought him back to life. Hey, the knowledge is good for something. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, there you go. He realized. Man. You know, shout out to my brother, man, the dearly departed Curtis Anderson, a.k.a. Kurt Sugar. You know, he used to love Kung Fu films, too. And so one time, he was talking to me, and he told me, he said, Stormy, he's like, I might have a little more boxing, you know, history knowledge over you. He was like, but I really tried to test you on your Kung Fu knowledge. And he was like, man, I was like, no, this guy got it hands over fist that about them Kung Fu films. He's like, I even asked you a couple of questions to kind of like trip you up, right? This is Kurt talking to me. He says, I asked you a couple of questions just to kind of trip you up. And you so casually answered the question, but not only did you answer the question, you gave me like 2 or 3 minutes more of source material to substantiate everything that I didn't ask. Boy, we laughed about that, man. Kurt and I, we were just cracking up. I was like, damn, man. Did I tell on myself? He was like, hell yeah. He said, I tried to ask you some stuff that not many people would know. And he was like, not only did you know it, you knew more material. You know, you knew the dates and everything. You knew the people who was associated with the situation. Boy, Kurt and I used to really laugh and have some great conversations, man. That's right, Jamal Davis, R.I.P. to our brother, because hey, he was a really cool, genuine man. I only thing I regret is I never got a chance to meet him in person, but Kurt was a true man and a true friend, bro. But he knew. He would ask me, hey, Stormy, I got a Kung Fu film in mind. He was like, do you remember a film where a guy was doing such and such and such, and they was like fighting with this style and this and that, and this was what happened. And I said, yeah, that's such and such. He's like, damn. He was like, that's right. Mm-hmm. Oh, Miss Davis, she says, see, now I gotta watch Kung Fu tonight on Christmas, Stormy, because you got my husband looking them up. Hey, look, I ain't got nothing to do with what's happening in the Davis household, huh? Y'all ain't sent me no plate. See what I mean? See, if I had something to do with your household, you would have sent Stormy a plate for Christmas, huh? But since you didn't send no plate, huh? Can't blame it on me. What's happening over there? Nope. I ain't taking that one. Nope. See, if I had a plate, I'd be like, oh, can I get this back? But see, no. Brother sitting over here hungry, you know what I mean? And y'all sitting over there, y'all be arguing over Kung Fu film. I'll be sitting at home watching mine, eating popcorn. Yep. I ain't taking part in no arguments. Now, let me get back to this box set. The next film on there is a film by the title The Jade Rickshaw. Now, this is another one of those efforts that really, again, this is a pretty decent film, but there's not a lot of fanfare over it in the U.S. because it's one of Shaw's titles that didn't play on the major circuit. But if you had a Chinatown in your city, it probably aired there in one of the Shaw Brothers' own theaters in the U.S. Another good film that starred Chong Pei Pei again. You know, she was definitely a lead actress again, I said, during this era. You know, and she was definitely, you know, Chong Pei Pei was really innovative. And the number of films that she starred in and her contributions to the martial arts genre are amazing. You know, you don't hear her name enough. But again, someone like myself, like even with Kurt, we would talk something and I mentioned someone like her, he'd be like, oh yeah, I know that lady. But see, when she started in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think she was well into her 60s, I think, or starting to go into her 60s. And, you know, again, a lot of times you would have had been following the genre to know who she was. But she was amazing, especially in her youth. Okay, Miss Davis says, nah, I like them too. It all depends on which ones, because I like The Last Dragon. But The Last Dragon is really not a kung fu movie. It's a film that took elements of what was popular during its time. Music videos, martial art movies, and comedy and stuff. And it kind of all enrolled it into one gem that was made by, you know, produced by Barry Gordon. But nobody knew that that film would become a cult classic like it did. But it's not really a kung fu film, The Last Dragon. It really isn't. And don't talk about it too much, or y'all don't stir up Head Dog. He gonna come in here talking about how he hated the movie and the movie is trash and all that. And I'm gonna have to give him 180 days time out over here. So be careful talking about The Last Dragon, huh? And he gonna come in here talking about uh he came over here talking about it wasn't a good movie. I'm like, dude, go sit down somewhere. Okay, we back, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah. I need to work on swapping my computer memory out. Need to get something done with that, because that's what that is at the end of the day. But I was talking about the Jade Rickshaw, another Chung Pei Pei film. But I'm gonna keep it moving. One of the other films on this 11 disc set is The Bells of Death. Now that's a Chang Yi joint, as Tale of Revenge. One of my favorite films of his that I didn't see until the 90s actually, and it was made in 1968. But he's playing a guy whose family was taken out by a band of bandits, and he hunts them down. And the title, Bells of Death, it was because his mom had these little bells. It's like a wristband that had bells on it. And when they took his family out, he kept those bells as a souvenir. And when he hunted down the villains, who were the bad guys, they would hear these bells chiming before his arrival, you know, and then he would go ahead and take care of his get his revenge. Chang Yi, he played in a lot of good films in the Shaw's early kung fu and swordplay era, and then he branched off into independent films, also working with Golden Harvest Studios on a couple of films. And then in the mid to late 70s, he cut his teeth playing villains. One of my favorite roles of his is where he plays in Shaolin Kung Fu Mystagogue with Carter Wong Tawa. And he's playing this guy who has these weapons called the Bloody Birds. Now, the Bloody Birds are another form of the flying guillotine. He can throw these things and they come back to him. It's like a tri-sided blade, like a star, but they spin. And he throws them and they cut people's extremities, all of that. But what's most noteworthy about him in that film, Shaolin Kung Fu Mystagogue, is that he's got this black hair with these long gray whips in his hair, like, you know, really stands out. It's like really crazy. And he's supposed to be a former Shaolin student that came back to wipe out Shaolin Temple. So thus Carter Wong has to fight against him. But yeah, it's a great film. One of those films that people, once you start watching it, it's hard to, you know, Shaolin Kung Fu Mystagogue is excellent. I think I talked about that film on here too. Jamal says, yeah, I love those movies. They don't make them like that no more. No, they don't. They don't. Then we have another one starring Jimmy Wong Yu in the box set that is called The Sword of Swords. Now this film is about a special sword that was designed, and it has a number of kills on its blade, and that the possessor of the sword is thought to be an expert swordsman and everything, supposed to be a sifu of a particular school, and Jimmy Wong Yu is like the heir apparent to the school, and all of these other people are trying to get the sword, and it's like it's pretty good film. Another Jimmy Wong Yu joint that, again, before he stopped working for Shaw Brothers, he was churning them out, man. And anytime he led up a swordplay film, the box office went through the roof because he was popular. So, yeah. Then there's another film in the box set called The Killer Darts. Now this is one where Sean Pei returns, and then they've got the likes of Yue Hua in there and some other Shaw Brothers film stars that you will know when you see them. And I want to let you guys know that these images that you see, when I put them up here, these are the original theatrical poster artwork for the films. That's why I put them in that little, you know, got them in that little design like cell phone type deal. But I'm showing them to you because those are the original poster arts for the films. And just a little way of being creative to put that stuff on display for you. You know what I mean? But, you know, I do give full-hearted efforts here. That's what I try to do. Ms. Davis says, now that one sounds good. I was just telling my husband it sounds like the kind of creepy because imagine you're walking somewhere and you hear bells. You better be ready. Yeah, the little bells are jingling and these guys are looking around. The bad guys, they're like, hey, you hear something? They're drinking and stuff. What is that? Oh, you're drunk. And then no dude comes out and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, do you remember years ago this family that you killed? And then it's on from there, huh? Yeah, Kung Fu, man. And that you know, Miss Davis, you're actually right. Kung Fu films actually started their own subgenres because of stuff like that. What you said, you're not far off with that, because they found a way to make Kung Fu happen in films. Because you think about it, just people going out fighting. You can only set it in a certain time, like in Westerns where they use guns. In Hong Kong films, their Westerns are Kung Fu films. They either are using swords and spears or they're using hand-to-hand combat. But you have to put the actors in an environment for where their talents will flourish. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. That's why it's not good when you see a lot of the modern day Kung Fu films where they like running around in the streets dressed in blue jeans and, you know, high heel shoes and stuff like that and butterfly collar shirts, and they breaking out fighting. It's like, man, who's going to break out in a fight like that? Somebody just going to pull out a pistol and smoke dude. You know what I mean? So, as Bruce Lee would say, why doesn't someone pull out a 45 and bang, settle it? That kind of thing, you know? Yeah. So Killer Darts is another good one, though. And in that film, they're throwing around these deadly darts and killing people. And you know one thing about those movies in the 70s, man, like when they throw something like a knife or something, they'll show the camera with the dude throwing it like, whoosh, right? But then you'll hit it'll cut to the other guy going, ugh. You don't never see it travel across to hit the dude, but it's just one camera of him throwing it, the other guy going, ugh. You know, it was a lot of that during the 70s till they got creative, you know. But it's so funny, man. It's just like in the Westerns when they would shoot somebody, you'll see the hero, they'll shoot at him, he'll duck the bullet. What was that? Ducking bullets. But he'll duck and then he'll fire back, and then the other guy will go, oh, and then he fall over a cliff or something. It's like You guys, see, if you're old enough to know what I'm saying, that's why I'm laughing, because, you know, it's like, come on, man. Who the hell gonna duck a bullet? You know, Drew Titan and I was laughing about TV cop shows and stuff, and one day we had the time of our lives laughing at old TV shows like, what was my man's name? Remember the Buddy Epson used to play on the Beverly Hillbillies? He had a show where he played a cop in the 70s. What was that show? Barnaby Jones, I think. Now, Barnaby Jones always would get into a shootout every episode. But when they shoot at him, he ducked. And then he fired back and hit the other guy. It's like, wait a minute, bro. First of all, you 70 years old. You ain't ducking nothing, huh? And second of all, why is it that he was such a marksman, but he always let the other guy shoot first and he ducked and then he fired back? If he was such a damn marksman, why didn't he just, when the dude drew his gun, just blast him? Huh? See? Switch it up a little bit. I tell you, man. See, I be watching the details, you know. Man, Miss Davies, let me tell you something. In the 70s, when I was walking around as a kid, I had all types of kung fu weapons. I had stars. I had nunchucks. The one thing that I tried to make me that I didn't get good at was the 3-section staff, like Gordon Liu uses in the 36 Chambers of Shaolin. The 3-section staff nunchucks. I never really learned how to use those properly, but I kind of wish I had now. But yeah, we used to, and don't let me have a bow staff, which is basically a long piece of wood, like a broom, whatever, stick. But it's a round wood, long, got to be at least 5 feet long or 4.5 feet long. I knew how to use that bad boy. I taught myself. I knew how to spin it and everything. Spin it around my head, around my back, and then I'll mess you up with it. Hit your toes, pow, pow. Now you can't run. Hit your kneecap, pow. Now you're down on one knee. Now you're at the mercy, huh? Yeah. Man, I used to, them was the days. See, because the police catch you with nunchucks, they take your nunchucks from you. So I had to make a little pouch for my nunchucks, especially when I saw Bruce Lee in Game of Death. He had a little black pouch for his nunchucks. I made me a black pouch for my nunchucks. No, mine was maroon, my pouch. But I stopped carrying the nunchucks. I used to carry a long stick. And they think you just carrying a piece of wood. But I was deadly with it. Deadly with that wood, man. The next film in the entry here was Dragon Swamp. Now this is another Chong Pei Pei epic where she's playing in here. It's a bunch of people in this film, but it's an interesting story. What's great about this particular initial box set is it took some of Shaw's best films from that era and it lets you, enjoy them. It's like swordplay, all types. But the Shaws were number one in making films. And guess what, you guys? You get like YouTube channels, they talk about kung fu movies. Of course, they talk about Bruce Lee. Some talk about Sonny Chiba, huh? They'll talk about David Chang and Tai Long. But how many people you see talking about like films like this or what I'm talking about, huh? The Dragon Swamp. the Invincible Fist, Killer Darts, huh? It's different, you guys. It's different. And speaking of the Invincible Fist, another film that was an epic that had Lolay playing in this film. And Lolay was doing some stuff in here that it didn't have him so much fighting fist style, but he was basically a swordsman, another one of those wayward swordsmen. And they had him in here, but David Chang is in here, and this is another one of those films that directed by Chang Che. See, Lolay was starting to be brought along like a Jimmy Wong Yu, even though when Shaw's parted ways with Jimmy Wong Yu, they wanted another strong, chiseled, heroic guy, and Lolay was being groomed for that role until they had the lawsuits and stuff with Jimmy Wong Yu, and then they went in a different direction. They didn't want to make it just one star. That's why they had a whole stable of guys who could be a star in any production. That way, by leveling the playing field, you don't get one big egotistical star and who wants to make all these unreasonable demands or whatever. And I say unreasonable, I'm not considering them unreasonable, but the studio executives would consider them unreasonable because they wanted to keep the spending low for higher profits for themselves. But when people like Jimmy Wong Yu came into the realization of how much box office is being brought in and they're being tremendously underpaid, he was like, screw you guys, I'm out of here, I ain't doing that. And he broke his contract with Shaw Studios. And when he went on the independent film circuit over in Taiwan, he started making his own films with his own, ideas, writing, producing, and all of that kind of stuff. He was very prolific once he lost Shaw. He was prolific at Shaw's, but under their banner, what they tell him to do and everything. He didn't have say over scripts and stuff like that. But when he went on the independent circuit over in Taiwan, he became his own man. Jamal says, nobody is talking about all of that. That's why I respect your knowledge on these movies. Appreciate it. He says, I love documentaries, but very few touch on a lot of things that you're talking about. Oh, yeah, because I have, I've been around, bro. I was growing up during that era, and I used to read about these guys. When there were certain publications that would come out that would have information. Like, I spent a lot of time going to Chinatown for movies to pick up on VHS and stuff, and that's just like a buddy of mine that I grew up with. His name is Sean Black. I don't know where Sean is today, but he was a very good friend of mine. We used to love to talk kung fu movies and go to them and everything. And he reminded me that he was in Chinatown in '83 for looking for some kung fu stuff or whatever. And he saw the newspaper in the window, a publication in Chinese that had talked about Alexander Fuxing passing away. And he died in a car accident where it was he and like two other people in the car, including his brother who was driving. And they took a bad turn on a curve in one of those winding Hong Kong hillside roads and smashed into a wall. And Fuxing died at the hospital hours later from his injuries. And he had told me, I remember I was at Chinatown and I was looking in the windows at different stuff, and I saw the newspaper. It said that Fuxing had died. I was like, man. 10 years after Bruce Lee, Fuxing passed away. And guess what? He had bought Bruce Lee's home that Bruce Lee lived in Hong Kong. So it's like two men died 10 years apart in that home, living in that home. Ms. Davis says, I didn't know you actually know how to do Kung Fu. People really need to watch out with you, but that's what's up. Kung Fu isn't just about fighting. It shows you how to be disciplined and defend yourself. That's very true. That's very true, because when you understand and know how to move and execute movements with your body and everything, it gives you a certain confidence in not to be aggressive about it, but and your anticipation abilities are heightened and your awareness is heightened. And that's the kind of thing that, again, it keeps people out of certain circumstances. You know what I mean? But you got some people out here, they learn something and they want to go and test it out. Let me test the metal, huh? And then they find out that they didn't know as much as they thought they did, huh? But you can teach them how to be introduced to something that they never knew, huh? And that's the graveyard. There's people getting introduced to that on a daily basis. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Yep. Jamal says, it's unfortunate Bruce Lee passed, because it would have been something to see him in more movies when the Kung Fu era took off. Actually, and I'm not saying this to trivialize his presence, but because he died so early, he never even lived to see the success of Enter the Dragon. So his stardom really came after that film. And because the film was done and he was gone, now people had to find something else to do. They had to find a different way. Had Bruce been around a little bit longer, it would have influenced the genre into a certain direction. Because even he, while he was alive, has stated that he think that the Kung Fu film craze would only last about another 3 years or so. And that was while he was still alive. Well, it extended way into the 80s, didn't it? And then it had a slowdown period, and then it came back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as long as you're innovative, you can do something with it. Yeah, so then there's another film in here called The Flying Daggers. Now that film I've seen, very interesting film there, The Flying Daggers. And rounding out the titles in here are The Golden Sword. Another film with Chang Pei Pei and I think is Yui Wa. So, but these are good films here in this box set. And that's mostly all wuxia films, you know. Mostly. So to see the genre kicking off like that with wuxia swordplay before Kung Fu became popular. And guess who made the Kung Fu film popular? Jimmy Wong Yu, with his film from 1970, The Chinese Boxer. You see? Jimmy Wong Yu was very influential. People talk about Bruce Lee. People talk about Jackie Chan. And even later in years, they talk about Jet Li. And now, in his later years, Donnie Yen. But let me tell you something. Jimmy Wong Yu, when Bruce Lee came on the scene, it's like he got in front of Jimmy Wong Yu. And then you saw Bruce Lee for a couple of years. Then Bruce was gone, and guess who was still there? Jimmy Wong Yu, doing his thing. Ms. Davis says, yeah, because you learn how to be patient and think instead of react to certain situations that can turn out bad for yourself or others. Yeah, but now that I've gotten older, my patience is gone. So I can still get in trouble. But that's just old age, you know what I'm saying? Jamal says, yeah, it extended in the 80s. I was born in 81. I remember watching a lot of classic Kung Fu movies on Saturdays. Only thing about that is they showed the same 10 or 12 films. But the library is thousands. That's why when I do these Kung Fu film focuses, I like to talk about the independent films and films that may not have been just Shaw Brothers titles or Golden Harvest titles, because there were so many, guys, so many Kung Fu films. Some were pretty darn good too. They just didn't get the distribution because Shaw Brothers ran all of the screens pretty much in Southeast Asia. And in America, in the Chinatowns, they own most of those. So if they didn't want to put your film on air for distribution, guess what? If you're an independent film company, you got squeezed. He tried to squeeze Raymond Chow, his former right-hand man, but Raymond Chow had the benefit of being involved with Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee gave international eyes on Golden Harvest Studios, even though it was for one film, Enter the Dragon. But they developed a rapport, and the Smiling Tiger, as Raymond Chow was known, he was a very good businessman. His dream was to be international anyway, not to just be local on the Southeast Asia circuit. He wanted to have his films be international. That's why Golden Harvest branched out into so many other areas, even producing or co-producing films that were on the international market. Like, you guys remember Tom Selleck, who played Magnum P.I.? There was a film that he did that was a swashbuckling film in the late 70s, and it was produced by Golden Harvest Studios and released international. He was playing, and Raymond Chow, he distributed that film. Jodan Baker, who played in Walking Tall, he played in a film, Golden Needles, with Jim Kelly, and that was co-produced with Raymond Chow. And it's like a lot of people don't know, but again, this is a little movie trivia history for you guys. Jamal says he loved The Game of Death, but didn't like how they used the real footage from Bruce Lee's funeral in the movie. It didn't sit right with me. I didn't like it at all either. But I don't like the movie, especially when I found out how much of Bruce's material that they put out there or didn't put out. And it was amazing because at that time when we received that, we thought that that was all there was. I don't even know why Raymond Chow allowed that to happen, man. That was really asinine of him. Columbia is asking, do you think Lee Min's acrobatics were better than Jackie Chan's? No. Absolutely not. Yeah, they kept showing the same ones over and over. Just like when the Five Venoms first appeared on TV, people went crazy about it and the ratings went up. So they would show it all the time. I was like, dude, show something else. Do you realize that the Venoms starred in about 14 films, but you only get about 5 of them in a regular rotation? So yeah. But yeah, Miss Davis, you can do the hubby a solid by getting him the Shaw Brothers Classic Volume Number 1. And there's 11 films in that package, but I'm going to tell you something. It'll take him a minute to get through all of them, and they're all good films. So do that, huh? And then it'll free you up a little bit, huh? Yeah. But that's how you handle that, huh? Go in there and watch the TV with the Blu-ray player on it, and let me watch my program. You gotta get innovative with this stuff, huh? Yeah. But yeah, man. Pick that box set up. Like I said, they're on like number 8 in the volume of these box sets. But this is a great one to start out with. Price has been reduced too since I bought it. And don't go buying the other ones first. If you listen to Stormy, you're going to be very fulfilled with what I say. Buy volume 1, then buy volume 2, then buy volume 3 if you're liking them. Buy them in sequence. And I say that simply because if you get the early ones first, they don't go out of print on you. Then second of all, you build yourself up the ladder of, you know, your expectations and what's being met and all of that. It's great stuff. She says, I'll let you know how it turns out for him and me. Listen, Stormy ain't gonna never lead you wrong. You're gonna be just fine, huh? I keep telling people all the time, if y'all would simply kind of listen to me, because guess what? I'm on this air, right? And I understand and recognize. See, y'all just in the chat writing and stuff, but I gotta show my face. You hearing my voice. You got to see my setup. You don't see no dirty underwear hanging on the rack behind me or nothing like that, right? I have nice little settings and stuff. All of this stuff takes work and effort to put this together. And then I don't be on here talking bull crap. I give you real factual information. It can be checked and sourced and everything. But when I do this, it's a creative process. So my reputation is on the line as well. You understand? So don't think that I'm going to get on here and just be embarrassing myself, huh? No. Nope. Get on here and be repping in the proper way. Yep. That's what that's all about. Somebody asked me one time, they say, Stormy, how many Kung Fu films do you think you have? This was, about 6 years ago I was asked that, 7 years ago. And I was like, you know what? At that time, I said maybe about close to 1,200 or something like that. I stopped counting. Because it's not about the numbers. It's about the quality. And I got a lot of quality stuff, you know. So yeah, that's why I can tell you about these guys. That's why I can tell you about when they started and all of that kind of stuff. Columbia says Bruce Lee's vision was better. Bruce Lee's vision was the only one when you're talking about Game of Death. What they put out was something just to make some money off of his name and his absence. But, nah. Yeah, that's what it was, you know. But yeah. Well, look here, guys. I'm going to get ready to get on out of here. I've been on here long enough. About an hour and a half I ran talking to you guys. Couple of interruptions there, but you know, you see I worked it out, right? I'm a trooper. I try to bring you guys the best that I can, you know what I mean? And I do my best when I come out here. So with that being said, I'm gonna get on out of here. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your Christmas. Thank you for taking moments out of your Christmas to spend with me online here as I talked about some old kung fu stuff, huh? Yeah, but that's what we do, you know what I mean? Keep creating content, putting it out there for you guys. But with that, you know, I'm out of here. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC. Merry Christmas to you guys. And we will catch you on the next one. I'll have another Kung Fu joint next week, one day next week, probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I got so much. And I'm also re-uploading past shows from when I first produced them on my STORMYBMAN channel. So if you see one that you might have caught live a while back, that's all that is. I'm putting them on the Kung Fu channel now, just to fulfill the content space on my Kung Fu channel. So that's what's good. Hey, you guys, again, like I said, enjoy the rest of your holiday, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace to everybody out there.